Today, we are diving into one of the biggest questions in all of philosophy. Where does our knowledge actually come from? I mean, is it something we figure out just by thinking, using our own reason, or is it something we learn from the world around us through our experiences? This is the age-old battle between two philosophical heavyweights, rationalism and empiricism. Let's get into it. But first, let's start with you. No, seriously, think about something you know for an absolute fact. Got it? Okay, how do you know it? Did you see it? Did someone teach it to you? Or did you just, think about it and realize it had to be true? That question, right there, is the heart of this entire debate. To get a handle on this, philosophers split knowledge into two basic types. On one side, you've got what's called a priori knowledge. Think about a statement like 3 is a prime number. You don't need to go out and do experiments on the number 3 to know that's true, right? You just use reason. But on the other side, you have empirical knowledge, like fire is hot. You know that because, well, you felt it, or at least you've trusted someone who has. And that's the core tension, reason versus experience. So in this corner, let's meet our first contender, Team Rationalism. Their big idea? That the most important stuff we know doesn't come from the outside world at all. It comes from the power of our own minds. Okay, so here's the more formal definition. Rationalists believe that reason is the chief source of our knowledge. Sure, our senses can be helpful, but when it comes to the real, fundamental truths, the bedrock of what we know, that comes from thinking. Reason is the ultimate test. So how does that work exactly? Well, rationalists have two main arguments. First is the idea of innate knowledge. They say we're born with certain truths already baked in, like they're part of our factory settings. The second is the idea of innate concepts. This means we're also born with fundamental ideas, like the concept of God, or infinity, or what a self is. Experience might trigger this knowledge, but it doesn't create it. To really make this idea click, the philosopher Gottfried Leibniz came up with this fantastic analogy. He said the mind isn't a blank slate. Instead, think of it like a block of marble. A sculptor can't just carve anything they want from it. The veins running through the marble already suggest what kind of statue it's going to become. And that just perfectly captures the rationalist idea, right? Our minds have this pre-existing structure, those veins in the marble. Knowledge isn't something written on us from the outside. It's sculpted from what's already inside of us. But, as you can imagine, not everyone was buying it. So let's head to the other side of the ring for the counterargument. For Team Empiricism, knowledge isn't from within. It's a story written entirely by the outside world. Empiricism is basically the polar opposite of rationalism. The argument is that we have no source of knowledge other than experience. That's it. Everything we know comes from what we see, hear, taste, and touch, and then from reflecting on those sensations. If you can't trace an idea back to an experience, it's not real knowledge, period. And if the rationalists have their block of marble, the empiricists have their own killer metaphor. This one from John Locke. He argued the mind is a tabula rasa, which is Latin for a blank slate. We are born with no innate ideas, no pre-existing structure. Everything we come to know is written on the slate by our experiences. So there you have it, the perfect contrast. For rationalists, knowledge is sculpted from our inner nature, but for empiricists, our inner nature is just an empty canvas, and experience is the artist that paints the picture. Let's just put it side by side because it's so clear. When it comes to the big questions, they give completely opposite answers. Do we have innate knowledge? Rationalists say, absolutely, we're born with it. Empiricists say, no way, we learn it all. What about innate concepts? Same deal. Rationalists, yes. Empiricists, nope. It seems like a pretty clean black and white disagreement, doesn't it? Well, this is where the story takes a really fascinating turn. Because those neat and tidy boxes that we've just drawn, we're about to smudge them all up. Yeah, it turns out that when you actually go back and read what these famous philosophers wrote, that simple rationalist versus empiricist label, it starts to fall apart. Get this, René Descartes, who we think of as the ultimate rationalist, actually said that sense experience was essential for doing science. And on the flip side, John Locke, the poster boy for empiricism, claimed that we can know moral truths just by using reason, without needing any specific experience. So the team captains were kind of playing for the other side. And hey, don't just take my word for it. Our source here, the Stanford Encyclopedia of Philosophy, basically gives us a warning. It says the real views of these thinkers were way more subtle and complex than the easy labels we like to stick on them. The labels are a good starting point, but they are definitely not the whole story. So if it's not a simple showdown, you might be wondering, okay, so why does this debate still matter? Why are we even talking about it centuries later? Well, because the answer you lean towards has massive consequences for almost everything. What's really at stake here is so much more than just an abstract philosophical argument. It's about the very limits of what humans can know and how we should even try to find the truth. The ripples from this one debate spread everywhere. Take metaphysics. It asks, can we know anything about a reality we can't see or touch, like God? In ethics, it's about whether right and wrong are universal truths we figure out logically, or if they're just feelings based on what we've experienced. It even changes how we think we should answer life's biggest questions in the first place. And just to show you how high the stakes are, listen to this fiery quote from the hardcore empiricist David Hume. He said that if a book isn't about logic or scientific facts, basically if it's not based on reason or experience, then you should just, and I quote, commit it then to the flames. He's saying it's totally worthless. That's a pretty radical idea. And that brings this whole thing right back to you. This isn't just some dusty historical debate. It's personal. Think about the things you truly believe in, your deepest convictions. Where did they come from? Is your mind a block of marble with those truths just waiting to be uncovered from within? Or is it a blank slate with a story written line by your journey through the world? The question is as alive today as it ever was.